All right, everyone. Welcome to the Son to a Father REDCap overview webinar. We're just going to take a few moments to go around and those of us running the webinar introduce ourselves. So I'm Dory Pinnanen-Hopkins. I'm an evaluation specialist with MPHI, and I'm working on the evaluation for Son to a Father. I've helped support the creation of the instruments you're using and some of the REDCap functions. And so I'll pass it over to Sarah if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi. Out of here. Click into the meeting. So stop your share. Sorry, having a minute of. Okay, and then find Erin on the list and make her a panelist. Okay, so this is Sarah McGurr. I am from MPHI. I am the lead of the evaluation team here for MyApp as well as Son to a Father. And I'm here today as moral support. And thank you all as we deal with trying this new form of technology that will hopefully eliminate background noises from just sort of unrelated pieces, but will require a little bit of finagling. So thank you all for your patience. Aubrey, would you care to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Aubrey. You should be able to see me on the video. I am one of the teammates here and did a lot of work in putting the REDCap system together. So that's that.
Great. And then Erin, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Erin Edgerton, and most of you know me as the kind of the TA main point of contact for MyApp, but I will continue to serve in that role for the Son to a Father work as well. So you'll see my email towards the end of the presentation where you can contact me or give me a phone call at any time if you have any questions about REDCap or evaluation in general.
All right, thanks team members. So while they're getting the presentation back up, I just want to start by saying there are a lot of options in REDCap, and sometimes it can look overwhelming, though it is fairly user-friendly. Our team was very intentional in making this presentation as simple as possible, and we're focusing on the tools in REDCap that you will need to use for the project and not much else. That said, please feel free to explore more tools on your own and or contact us with any additional questions. When you log into REDCap, this will be the screen you see. It displays all the projects with which you have been given access. If you already use REDCap, you will see the other projects you're working on, maybe some other MyApp projects. So your first step is to click on Son to a Father, and this will take you to the project homepage. And here is the project homepage. Now you can see that this page is pretty busy, and Aubrey helped us out by editing out some of that busyness, and she just left the options that are relevant to you for Son to a Father. To navigate within REDCap, you can use the sidebar on the left side of the page, and I'm going to walk you right down the sidebar. The top left is where you can navigate back to all of your projects or to REDCap Messenger, which we'll talk about later. The second section in the sidebar is for data collection. It's outlined in purple. Remember this section, you will use it the most. The next section features a variety of applications, but really you only need to consider the field comment log and the file repository, which we will go over later. And then the following section, which is also outlined in purple, is where you can run reports on Son to a Father. You can check on attendance or your post-survey forms. And lastly, the bottom section contains a help section and video tutorials. And you can see that the rest of the screen has a lot of options that at this point you just shouldn't worry about. Okay, this is very important to remember. REDCap does not autosave. So you want to make sure you're clicking the Save button after each individual data entry form, or if for some reason it's taking you a long time to enter data for a particular form, you can just click Save and Stay now and then. This saves your changes and keeps you in the active form. Now, although REDCap doesn't autosave, it will prompt you to save if you make changes and try to exit the form without saving. The Save buttons are on each form's page. There is the square one that floats at the top and the one at the bottom. Both give the same options, such as Save and Exit, Save and Stay. There are other options, but these are the most relevant right now. So the Save Your Changes prompt comes up if you've changed anything and try to get out of it. Just be aware that it doesn't autosave. First, let's talk about how to enter data on groups, also known as the information in the fidelity log and the attendance sheet. We will get into how to enter individual participant data in the second half of the presentation. Okay, remember that section in the sidebar for data collection? Here it is again. These are the two options that can get you to your forms for data entry. The record status dashboard shows you the data collection status of all records. It gives you a snapshot of the project as a whole, and you can also access data entry forms here. This is what we will click on to enter fidelity logs, which I'll show you step by step soon. And then the Add Edit Records button is where you can create new records for a group, or you can edit or view existing records. And this is what we'll click on to enter a new group, which I'll demonstrate momentarily. It's another option for accessing data entry. Let's first focus on the record status dashboard for ARM 1 or groups. You're going to hear me talk about ARMs a lot during this presentation. And for now, I just want you to think about them like tabs. They're an organizational tool within REDCap. So ARM 1 contains all the information related to groups. In ARM 2, we'll talk about participants. So ARM 1 for now has all the information that's collected at the level of the group of young fathers you are running. So at some sites, this group might be 8 or more participants, and at other sites, you may have a group of 1 young man going through the curriculum solely with you. Nevertheless, each is a group. So again, you will see a broad overview of all instruments where data about existing groups can be or already has been entered. On the left, you will see the names of the groups you have created records for. You will only be able to see the groups at your site. And for each group, we have an instrument for group information, and then an instrument for each separate session fidelity log for that group. You can choose the session you want to enter data for by clicking the number next to it, or if it's your preference to go directly into an instrument, you may click the bubble in the dashboard. Just take note of the different colored bubbles. We'll come back to this progress tool in a little bit. So how do you create a record for a new group? You choose the Add Edit Records option on the left-hand side. And after you click Add Edit Records, this is the screen you will see. So as a reminder, for each group, you have to add a record. Each of your records will eventually contain the group information from the attendance form and the fidelity log broken down into separate forms for each session. So whether you are adding or editing a record, you first will click on the drop-down menu on the left and choose an ARM. Again, ARMs are simply an organizing tool within the project. They're like tabs. So we want you to choose ARM 1 for groups, And then once you choose an arm, then you have the option of editing an existing record, which would lead you to the second drop-down menu, or you can add a new record by clicking on Add New Record for the arm selected above. You can also search your data from this same screen. You can first choose a field to search by, like date, site, ID, etc. And the forms on this slide are associated with arm 1, the groups arm. So you'll use the fidelity log mainly, and then just a little information from the group attendance form, like site, group number, instructors. When you create a new record or click on an individual record from the dashboard, you come to the record homepage. And here you can see all the instruments associated with that particular group record. And again, the bubbles have different colors depending on their status. And the legend on the right-hand side helps you keep track of them. And again, we'll discuss the color of the bubbles more in our live example. We have some fake data to use for practice today. You should have received these in an email from MPHI last night. Thanks, Chris, for creating these forms for us to practice with. So here we have the group attendance form. And then here is the fidelity log for the first session, Fathers Are Superheroes. We're going to use these forms to practice in REDCap. Feel free to pull them up and follow along so you can see how the paper forms connect to the data system. So let's go over to REDCap now and practice. So the first thing you want to do is go to the group's arm and complete an entry. So first, click on Son to a Father in My Projects. Then you're going to click Add Edit Records from the left sidebar. Now you're going to click on the drop-down menu next to Choose an Existing Record, and then click Arm 1 Groups. And then you're going to click Add New Record for the arm selected above. And this takes you to the record homepage. Now we'll choose the data collection instrument. So I will click on the bubble for group info first, and we'll go through and complete the form together. So first, for site, you'll click High Fields. I'm pulling information right from Chris's forms, and then enter the group number from your group attendance form, in this case, H01. If you need a reminder about how to name your groups correctly, please check out the FAQ document you received at the training. And then you're going to click the drop-down menu to choose how many instructors. There are 2 instructors listed, so you can type in the names of the instructors, C. Robinson and C. Jurasek. And just a note that there are up to 3 options here, so you can add your supervisor if you think that's necessary. And then you're going to click on Complete and save the form. You have some options for saving here. I'm going to show you Save and Exit in order to explain why we chose Complete. Okay, so why did I click on Complete? I'm glad you asked. This turns the bubble green and flags to you that the form has been entered completely. If for some reason you're not able to complete the entire form, you can also click on Incomplete, which will turn the bubble red, and that indicates to you that you need to go back and finish entering the form. We want you to please disregard the unverified option to keep things simple. Unverified would turn the bubble yellow. We only want you to click Complete or Incomplete, green or red bubbles only. You'll know all your forms are incorrect when you have rows of green bubbles. So now we're going to return to the record homepage, and let's continue entering the group information. So go down and click on the bubble for FL1 superheroes. This is where you go to enter your fidelity logs. There's already a form in the system for each session in the program. So first, you're going to choose if or how the session was completed. Here are the options, either session completed or session not completed. The likely response is going to be that the session was completed. And that's what's on your practice sheet with fake data. And then you're going to choose which instructor facilitated this session. And you can see here that REDCap auto-populates this form based on what you entered for group information in the previous form. So you can just click Chris Robinson and then enter the date of session, which is March 20th, 2020. A start time of 10 a.m. and an end time of 11:30 a.m. I'm just going to note here that REDCap works in military time. So if you enter 2 o'clock, it will register as 2 a.m. So in this case, you'd want to enter 1400. And then the total participants in session are 3. Now we get into more details of the fidelity log form. Here's a space to detail adaptations made to the core components presented. We can see that Chris had no adaptations listed. He also noted that all components were presented, which answers the next question on the form. So we want you to please check any components listed that you did not present. And then there is a space also to share any challenges or comments. So we'll type in what Chris shared, that dads were very engaged and excited about being looked at as superheroes. And lastly, we click on an option for how engaged were youth during the section, very engaged, and then click on complete and save exit form. And hello, green bubble. All right, now let's go back into the form and talk about other scenarios other than this ideal fake data that Chris created for us. Let's say there was an adaptation made to the core components. You can type in those adaptations, the adaptations in the box here. So let's say that a component was not presented. When we click on the component here, we then receive a text box for explanation. For example, if we click on Watch Finding My Father video, a text box will appear for the explanation. Okay, so the video wouldn't load. Or maybe invite participants to share responses was not presented because the participants were still warming up and they didn't want to discuss. It could be many things. Maybe there wasn't enough time to process the discussion questions, but all of these details are really important for us to capture because it helps us improve the program in the future. It's important to know if timing needs to be adjusted or if the session is trying to cover too many items. With all that said, you have now entered the basic data for the group arm and for the first session. So now we're going to go back over to PowerPoint. I just want to show you here, Aubrey created these great step-by-step reference sheets that walk through exactly what we just did to enter the group attendance form into REDCap. And just a note here that the group attendance form is the only form that's entered into both arms, which I'll show you. And Aubrey also created a step-by-step sheet that walks through how to enter the fidelity log into REDCap. Again, what we just covered. If it's confusing to you to look at these sheets, just disregard them, but your brain might like them just as a step-by-step. All right, everyone, now we're going to repeat what we just went through, but we're going to do the participant data, which is stored in ARM 2. Remember that you can find this option in the sidebar under data collection, and these are the 2 options that can get you to your forms for data entry. So for review, the record status dashboard in ARM 2 will show you the data collection status of all individual participant records. It gives you a snapshot of the participants as a whole, and you can access data entry forms here. This is what you will click on to enter the post surveys. And then we have the Add Edit Records button, which is where you can create new records for guys when you just start a group or for new participants, or you can edit or view existing records. Another option for accessing data entry or searching for records. And this is what you will click on to enter the demographic forms for new participants. And this is what you will see when you click on Record Status Dashboard in ARM 2 for participants. The Record Status Dashboard, once again, provides a broad overview of all instruments where data can be or already has been entered. So just like the Groups tab, you will only be able to see participants from your site. We see more here because we have administrative status. And just as a reminder, in this example, you will notice that the dashboard is separated into two sections, or tabs, as REDCap calls them, arms. It's just a way to organize in REDCap. Again, think of them like tabs. So we have a tab or arm for the groups, and we have a tab or arm for the participants. And we're just going to focus on participants now. You can choose the participant you want to enter data for by clicking the number next to it, or if your preference is to go directly into an instrument, you may click the bubble in the dashboard. And what happens if we click Add Edit Records? This is the screen you will see. As a reminder, for each participant, you have to add a record. This means when you start a group, you'll need to create one participant record for each guy in your group. And if a new guy joins at some point, you will need to add that record as well. Each participant record will eventually contain the demographic information and post-survey for each session. The post-survey section is also how we track attendance. So once a group is complete, every participant must have data in every session, even if they did not attend the session or complete a post-survey. I'll repeat this and explain it a bit more in a little bit. Now, whether you're adding or editing a record, you will first click on the drop-down menu on the left, and you will choose an arm. You should be an expert in arms by now. They're just an organizing tool. Think of them like tabs. So we're in ARM 2 for participants. And then once you choose an arm, you have the option of editing an existing record or adding a new record. You can also search your data from the same screen. You can first choose a field to search by, like participant ID or date. And just a big reminder here, we do not want you to enter participant names anywhere in REDCap, just the participant ID. So if you need to search in REDCap, you can search by the anonymous participant ID, not the names. Please just keep a key for yourself so you know which names match which participant ID, and we'll come back to this in our live round. The forms on the slide are associated with ARM 2 participants. So you'll use the demographic survey in the middle, the post survey on the right, and just a little bit of information from the group attendance form, such as assigning the participant number and what services they may utilize. When you create a new record or click on an individual record, which is the number to the left of each record, you come to the record homepage, and here you can see all the instruments associated with that particular record. The bubbles have those different colors depending on their status, and again, you have that legend there to help you keep track of them. And for ARM 2 or participants, you also have the option of choosing a repeatable instrument. And this is in the event that someone is in the same session twice. This is probably a rare occurrence, but it might happen. And we'll come back and talk more about this later. But for now, just note the boxes for repeating forms at the bottom of the screen. We just want you to be aware that they look like this on your screen and that's what they are. But you don't need to pay much attention to them otherwise right now. And here are the raw forms prepared by Chris so we can practice entering data for participants. We have a demographic questionnaire and a post survey for session 1. And we will also have to enter a few items from the group attendance form. Now, let's go to REDCap and practice some more. Okay, so we're inside Son to a Father. The first thing we'll do is click Add Edit Records from the left sidebar. And then click on the drop-down menu next to Choose an Existing Record, and then click on ARM 2 Participants. And then you'll click the Add New Record for the ARM selected above. And once again, this takes you to the record homepage. Now we will choose the data collection instrument. So I will first click on the bubble for demographics. And we will complete the form. All right, I just said this, I'm going to say it again. You will never enter a participant's name into the REDCap system. Never, ever. You will not be prompted to do this. We really do not want you to use names. This is an issue of confidentiality. So again, just make sure you're keeping a good record of attendance and creating and entering a participant number for each participant. And also, it's really important to enter the participant ID correctly. If you need a refresher of how to correctly develop participant IDs, please reference the FAQ guide you received at the training. And then just get in the habit of double checking when you enter a participant ID. It's really important because it links everything in the REDCap system. So as Aubrey's got going here, we're first going to enter the participant ID for 001. And then you click on your site Hi fields. And then you're going to click on the drop-down menu to choose how many groups is this participant in. This may seem odd at this time, but there is the potential that guys who are in one of your groups now might want to join another group later, or they may join the group halfway through and have to catch the beginning lessons later in your group. So to start out, you will almost certainly choose one group and then enter the primary group number, H01. This is found on the attendance sheet. And then in the future, if a guy ends up being in another group, you can return to this form, select 2 groups, and enter the secondary group number. And then you enter the date the form was filled out. And there's a space for the additional group number if you had 2 groups. Okay, and then click the appropriate choice for which of the following is this participant receiving NA for this participant, and then enter the age and race, ethnicity. Just note here that if you clicked on other as race, ethnicity, a box pops up to enter the other response. And then you go through, click the appropriate choice for are you currently enrolled in. You get the gist. This is pretty user-friendly here. You just work straight through the forms. And then when you are finished, you click complete on the drop-down menu. And you are done with the form. And after clicking save, you'll be returned to the record homepage. And you'll see the green bubble. Yay! Okay, let's go back into the form to talk about other scenarios you might encounter. So as we discussed earlier, up at the top of the form, let's say that this participant is part of 2 groups. It really might and could happen. Again, if you choose 2 groups, another box will appear to enter the additional group number. And this will log in the system to keep track of this participant being part of 2 groups. And just as an aside, this may be the only instance where you would ever come back into the demographics form and change anything. Otherwise, we really want you to think of the demographic form as a point in time. So in your mind, things may change like their age or the grade they're in. You don't need to worry about these things. Only go back in and change the form if the participant is part of 2 groups. Okay, now it's time to enter the post survey so we can save and exit the form again. In order to open the post survey for the first session, Superheroes, click the bubble to the right of PS1 Superheroes. So this next point is very important. Whether the participant completed a post survey or not, or whether the participant even attended the session or not, you still need to complete the REDCap post survey form. It's a very simple way to capture attendance in the system. So even if they didn't turn anything in, even if they didn't show up, you still need to go in to their post survey and fill it out. So first you would click the appropriate response for with which group was this session held, HO1. This question helps us link the participant to the group they're a part of, and also to see when participants complete sessions with different groups. And then you'd click yes, they attended this session, and then click yes for did they complete a post survey. Okay, so you may have noticed until we clicked yes, the other questions didn't show up. So if the answers are no, it would just log in the system that they didn't attend or they didn't complete the post survey, and you wouldn't be prompted to ask these other questions. Okay, but responses are yes, the form will continue. Click the appropriate response for each survey scale question. So it's you just go through here. So the first one, let's see, a little more confident in skills as a parent. A little more for knowing how to communicate with the mother of my child. Just letting my team members know that I lost my video, so I'm off script here now. Just go through and answer the scale questions. And just want to note the reset button here. If you accidentally click a response for a question that doesn't have a response listed, you can just click reset. And then complete the responses for the last 2 open-ended questions, child support issues for other topics, being treated like a superhero. Go through the questions, then click the drop-down menu next to complete and save exit form.
Okay.
Can I move on to repeating form?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to use a repeating form. It is unlikely that you will have to use a repeating form. However, if a participant ends up attending the same session twice, for example, if the participant is in 2 groups, you need to enter a repeating form. And this is what we call a duplicate form in REDCap. So let's say Chris's participant 4001 ends up attending PS1 Superheroes twice. There are a few ways to do this. First, you can access repeating forms by clicking Record Status Dashboard. You can see the plus sign to the right of the green bubble under PS1 Superheroes. You would click on that plus sign, and this will take you to an additional post survey form. Be sure to choose the correct group number. Again, this is really important for evaluating the intervention and linking participants to the correct group. You can also access repeating forms via the Add Edit Records. So you can click Add Edit Records and then click ARM2 and then select the record. And this will take you to the record homepage. And again, you just click on the plus sign to the right of the bubble you want to report on. So go ahead and click on the plus sign for PS1 Superheroes and voila. And Alternatively, you can also go to the bottom of the record homepage screen and click Add New for the appropriate instrument. All of these options get you to the same place. Just use the method that makes the most sense to you. Now I want to briefly show you what it looks like on your record status dashboard or record homepage when there are repeatable or duplicate forms. So if we navigate back over to record status dashboard, you can see that there are now multiple bubbles for PS1 superheroes.
Record status.
And
record status.
And same thing if we go to record home screen. And please remember, you must enter a post survey for each participant, even if they were absent and even if they did not complete a post survey for whatever reason, like if they left early or they refused. And also that participant IDs and group numbers are also critical. Make sure you're entering these numbers carefully and double checking as you go. I'm going to try to hop back on here. So we're going to go back over. Hold on a second, I'm going to mute this. Okay, we can go back over to the PowerPoint.
Okay. Dory, are you still there? Hang with us, folks. Can you stop sharing for a second? We're just going to troubleshoot Dory for a sec.
Can you hear me now? All right.
Yes, we can.
Okay, if we're back over to the PowerPoint. Okay, here are Aubrey's reference forms, detail the steps we just worked through, and this shows you exactly what you need to click on to enter a demographic questionnaire. And here are all the steps to enter a post survey. Just an important reminder, again, REDCap does not autosave, so make sure you're clicking the save button after each individual entry form. It's taken you a long time, just click save and stay now and then, which will save your work and keep you in the active form. And just a reminder also that REDCap will log you off if you're inactive for more than a few minutes, and any unsaved data will be lost. So although REDCap doesn't autosave, it will prompt people to save if they made changes and didn't hit save. We also have the save and exit buttons on each forms page, and the save and stay. There are a few other options, but I would just stick with save and stay or save and exit for now. When you are working with an instrument, you have access to other instruments in the left sidebar. So that box on the right is actually on the left side of your screen in REDCap. And if you need to edit or change an answer in skip logic, you can just click the reset button to clear data for that question. And make sure you save your changes. REDCap has some extras that we want to share with you. There is a messenger feature, a field comment log, a file repository, and then customized reports. So let's go back to REDCap and I will quickly walk through these tools. All right, I'm gonna start with the field comment log. So this is a function that may be used to communicate something about specific questions. All right, so we're in, let's go back over to groups, arm 1. Record status dashboard, arm 1. And then you're gonna click, let's choose high fields H01 and choose the fidelity log. All right. And now we're gonna scroll down to total participants in session. Do you see this little text bubble to the left of the entry space? Click on that text bubble. And this takes you to the field comment log. You can leave comments within the forms here. So let's say something about a participant leaving early. Do I need to count participants that leave early? This is just a space to add in comments related to specific data entry points. Others on the projects can respond here in the field comments as well. And if you do leave a field comment, the text bubble then turns a yellowish color. So you can see in the form that there is a field comment here. And I also want to show you the field comment log so you can see. Let's see, we're going to go over to field comment log. It's another place to see where the field comments are. And you can see right there in the middle all the different comments that have been made. There are also options to respond. You can filter to look for specific comments from specific people. And just as a note, we here at MPHI, we won't look at these comments, so don't ask questions here, but do feel free to use this feature internally if you wish. And there you can see an option for responding. Okay, but there are other ways to communicate within REDCap that may be more useful. So let's say you want to message someone else in the project with a question or comment, or maybe message the whole group. You can use REDCap Messenger. So navigate to the top left section of your sidebar and click on REDCap Messenger. And the messaging function will appear on the left of your screen. And you can have conversations within the project. So others on the project will receive notifications or prompts in their email and in the REDCap system to go and read your message. It works very much like other messaging systems that you use every day. You can choose which users will receive the message. You can give it a title. You can link it to your project, son to a father. And then you can close out, exit out of Messenger. So please feel free to use it to message Erin with questions as well if you wish. So REDCap also has a method for storing additional files you may want to attach to the project. And this is where we can share resources and documents. So let's say, for example, you took detailed notes in a session that you want to keep safely stored with the project. You can upload those to the file repository. So click on File Repository under Applications in the left sidebar. And this takes you to the various options for files. Just take note that manually uploaded files will be available for all project users across all sites. So we ask that you please consider confidentiality when you upload files. Okay, so now you can click on the Upload New File tab. And here is where you upload files. Okay, we saved the worst for last. We're going to show you how to use the reports feature. In the left sidebar, you will see the reports section towards the bottom. You can absolutely open a report to check on these data points, attendance or post-survey forms. But let us warn you that the reports function in REDCap is awful. It's not easy to read. For some reason, it populates single entries for the same record in different rows, which makes it very difficult to quickly review the report. So just keep this in mind. Reports are available, but they are not so helpful. And we encourage you to keep your own attendance forms on the front of each group fidelity log so you can easily glance when you want to. And we're sorry about the reports, but there's really not much we can do to improve them. Okay, we can head back over to the PowerPoint now. So these next two slides are just some additional flow charts to help you with thinking about how all of this comes together in REDCap, or what you do for different aspects of the project. These are meant to be helpful. If they are not helpful, or if they are just confusing you more, just ignore it. So there's one here, and then there's actually another one set up slightly differently here. So if it's useful, yay. If not, just move right on past. So Chris, I think that you had some questions for folks about data entry, so I'm just going to pass the mic on over to you now for a few minutes. Maybe.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
No? Okay.
Yep.
So for everybody I think the thing that we wanted to throw out there and talk about a little bit is just on what kind of schedule do you guys plan to enter your information? We didn't know if you would finish like an entire cohort of groups, so go through a full 12 sessions with a group or individual and then enter everything at once, or is it like once everybody comes on, you enter all the basic stuff, so the fidelity forms for that group, the demographic will be like session 1, and then the post survey will be after every session. So would you, after every group, enter a chunk of stuff? What do you guys think is going to make most sense for you at your sites? And you guys are gonna have to put it in your box.
Just to repeat what Chris said, you'll have to type your responses in the chat box.
Did you guys see what Andrea said, that our REDCap does not look like the REDCap you guys are working through? I don't know if she's talking about management or something else.
I think I can.
So, go ahead.
I think that chat popped up right on a form that we just changed at the end of the day yesterday. Maybe she can respond to that if that's what she was talking about specifically, because this session happened or this session did not happen.
Okay. So it looks like Eaton is saying that they're gonna do entry after each session. Berrien, Highfields, and Saginaw, can you guys respond? When do you plan to enter your paperwork into REDCap?
Do we have a response from Heather? It says Saginaw will be entering the forms after every session. The forms will be given to Leanne within 5 days of every session.
Okay.
And Berrien says they also agree to enter data after each session.
All right. Why can't I see these responses? Are they sending like directly?
They're sending it just to the panelists.
I got you.
But you are a panelist, so I'm not sure why that's not happening. But
I guess I ain't. All right, no biggie. Longest you got responses for everybody. Has Highfield said anything?
No.
All right, I can find out from Jurisec. I don't know if he's in the webinar or not.
Oh, he just responded. I will do my best to get it in after each session.
He better. All right. So I guess
Chris,
what we'll
I think
do is,
part of the concern was that some of the
No, go.
is on the attendance. Right, so some of the information you need in order to enter the post surveys is on the attendance sheet.
Right.
So they'd have to basically hand in their attendance sheet and their fidelity log every time as well.
Right. So if you're not the person that, but I mean, is there a site that's on here right now where you don't have somebody? Oh, all right, let me say that again. Is there any sites on right now that they're going to have their data entry person putting this information in? Because I didn't hear, unless I missed that as far as attendance, I didn't hear any data entry people on the on this call. And if you're going to be entering information, you need to be on this training. You do not want to take this back and say, hey, enter this in REDCap for somebody that hasn't received. I guess they can watch it as being recorded, but that was our concern. And the group attendance form is what we were worried about, right? Because they got to get that back, because that's what we mark every session on. So they would take that, enter it, and then give it back to the case managers to keep taking attendance, right?
Right.
So, okay. So a couple of things. As you guys are entering that information in your groups, you just want to have a pretty solid filing system, how things transition back and forth. Like if you enter something, you want to like stamp it and say it was entered, especially if it's exchanging hands back and forth between like a data entry person and the case manager. Once you get to week 6, 7, 8, and you've kind of passed these back and forth, you want to know like what's been entered and what not. So just some type of way of marking that it's been entered, or if you're the person that's entering it, maybe it's not that big of a deal because you just keep track of it and it's not exchanging hands. But what we'll do is, once you guys start your first group, I just need a quick email so that I can know that the date that you projected on starting, you are actually starting. Some of you guys giving me like the week of, and we'll make sure that we just keep a close look on eye on REDCap for the first 3-4 weeks to see if everything's being entered with not much of an issue.
And to answer Andrea's question about the, she said that, you know, their REDCap didn't have the add edit button, but instead said view edit. And I've literally just changed that permission right now because we didn't want folks to be able to add records until they had been trained to do so. So after this webinar is complete, you should see it, see that it says add/edit, and you should be able to add records.
That's a good catch though, Andrea, because I didn't notice that.
That's attention to detail we like.
Yes, yes it is.
Okay. Should we open up this time now for any questions over what we just covered?
So Travis said, having the difference between view and add records made it following along actually in the REDCap system difficult. So hopefully, Travis, you can view the recording of this training when you when we post it within the next day or two, and just see if there's any, you just can have a refresher that way as well.
And we just want to remind you all that all of the resources, documents, and a link to this recording or the recording will be in the Son to a Father Google Drive. And if you have any questions anytime, please reach out to Erin first. We're also happy to answer any more questions right now. I don't see any questions coming through the chat.
All right, well, we will send a kind of summary email in a couple of days with the links to the Google Drive that will have the slides from today's presentations, as well as this recording of this webinar and the fake data. And yeah, as long as you're comfortable, you can feel free to start entering your group and participant data as of today. So please be in touch with Erin if you have any questions. And we look forward to seeing that data roll in. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.